Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Recha Kodesh. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And today we're going to go into the book of Leviticus, the first chapter. All right, and transitioning from, the book of Exodus into the Leviticus, right, as we saw in Exodus, the deliverance of Israel from Egypt and their experience or encounter with the Lord in the wilderness, right? As he begins to lay down the order, the statutes, the commandments, and the ways in which to serve Him. Designing the tabernacle and the office of the priesthood and so on and so forth. So here we are in the book of Leviticus, as Israel is still in the wilderness, being led of the Lord, with Moses and Aaron and the rest of the elders as their leaders, as they're in this time. So this is Leviticus chapter 1, verse 1. And the Lord Yahweh called unto Moses, and spake unto him out of the tabernacle of the congregation, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, If any man of you bring an offering unto the Lord Yahweh, ye shall bring your offering of the cattle, even of the herd, and of the flock. So if anybody comes to offer an offering to the Lord, it has to be of of the cattle or of the flock. So your cows, or oxen, bull, or sheep, goat. If his offering be a burnt sacrifice of the herd, let him offer a male without blemish. So if you're coming to offer a burnt sacrifice, and it's of the herd, it has to be a male specifically without blemish, meaning it can't have any defects. He shall offer it of his own voluntary will at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation before the Lord. So you would bring your offering to the door, right? You obviously let it be known this is what you're offering to the Lord for such and such sake, communicating with the priest. And he shall put his hand upon the head of the burnt offering, and it shall be accepted for him to make atonement for him. So this burnt offering here would basically be like a sin offering, and offering that would make an atonement for the individual. And he shall kill the bullock before the Lord Yahweh, and the priests, Aaron's sons, shall bring the blood, and that's why they had the basins, and sprinkle the blood round about upon the altar that is by the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. So I want a better, I know I tried to find some before, but trying to find a better depiction here of the tabernacle. Let's see. There's so many of them, but not really the high quality detail ones. See, I like quality. I like quality. All right, but in any case, we'll settle for something here. I don't want to waste too much time looking for this. So let's go with this. Let's go with this here. So we're back at it with this, right? So they would basically sprinkle the blood right around here. And so back in Leviticus chapter 1, verse 5, it says here, actually continuing in verse 6, yes, sprinkling the blood upon the altar that is by the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. And he shall flay the burnt offering and cut it into his pieces. And when you go into that word flay, right, pashat, it says here to strip off. So basically to, let me see, when you look it up in the NLT, I like the word they use there. I forgot what it's called. To skin. There you go. To skin the animal or the offering and then cut it into his pieces. So they would divide it or chop it up, right, into pieces. And the sons of Aaron the priest shall put fire upon the altar. So they're going to light the fire and lay the wood in order upon the fire. Okay, so you would have the altar really don't like this picture here. I really want a better one. All right, let's do altar of sacrifice tabernacle. Yeah, I guess this is not too bad. Yeah, okay, not too bad. So you can get the point anyway. So anyway, they lay the wood, all right, upon the altar, and if we maybe even go back to uh which other one was it? There, this one here. So they lay the wood on it, okay, and as it says here, verse 8, and the priest Aaron's sons shall lay the parts, the head and the fat, in order upon the wood that is on the fire, which is upon the altar. So they would burn the offering on the wood that is on the altar. But his inwards and his legs shall he wash in water, and the priest shall burn all on the altar. So the inward parts and so on and so forth, they will wash that, as it says, in his legs, and then they would, as it says, they would wash it, and then they would burn it on the altar to be a burnt sacrifice, an offering made by fire of a sweet savor unto the Lord. And the burnt sacrifice was exactly as it says. You would burn it, you would offer it, it would burn all the way. And if his offering be of the flocks, so the first one was if this burnt offering was of the herd, then it would be a male. If it was of the flocks, so sheep or goats, namely of the sheep or of the goats, for a burnt sacrifice, he shall bring it a male without blemish. Remember that. For the burnt offering, it had to specifically be a male without blemish. And he shall kill it on the side of the altar northward before the Lord Yahweh. And the priests, Aaron's sons, shall sprinkle his blood round about upon the altar. And he shall cut it into his pieces with his head and his fat, and the priest shall lay them in order on the wood that is on the fire, which is upon the altar. But he shall wash the inwards and the legs with water. Remember, that's why they had the laver. And the priest shall bring it all and burn it upon the altar. It is a burnt sacrifice, an offering made by fire of a sweet savor unto the Lord Yahweh. And if the burnt sacrifice for his offering to the Lord be of fowls, so if he brings instead not of the herd and not of the flocks, but a bird, then he shall bring his offering of turtle doves or of young pigeons. So this is what that looks like. Turtle dove. This is what they look like. Okay. So the Lord is listing here, if you're trying to bring a burnt offering, these are the kinds that will be accepted. Turtle doves or young pigeons. I'm sure we all know what pigeons look like. And the priest shall bring it onto the altar and wring off his head. So it's basically going to pull off the head, kill that joint. But as it says here, well, let me just go look into the word ring, but it's basically to pull, the head off. So I'll go into there. It's like when somebody says, I'm going to wring your neck. To nip off head of a bird. To crack a joint, to wring the neck of a fowl without separating it. Okay. And let's look it up in the modern sense. What does it mean to wring off the head of a bird? This is not animal cruelty, it's just curiosity. To wring off the head of a bird refers to a specific literal ritual instruction in the Bible for preparing a bird offering, symbolizing quick death and draining of life for atonement. Bro, just tell me what the process is. All right, we'll go with the first one we read, which was, basically you're like separating the head from the neck without actually pulling, tearing the head off. And this would basically kill the animal or the bird. So as it says here, wring off his head, and burn it on the altar, and the blood thereof shall be wrung out at the side of the altar. So, of course, you're still gonna, you know, whether you, however they do it, because I doubt you're actually gonna pull the head completely off. But if they cut it, they cut the neck or whatever the case is after the animal was dead, they would drain the blood, right? Capture it in the basin, and as it says, it shall be wrung out at the side of the altar, which is to pour it out at the side of the altar, right? It says, but first he must drain its blood against the side of the altar. All right. So I guess that makes more sense. So after you kill it, you get all the blood out of it, considering that the scriptures tell you that the life is in the blood. So, you drain all the blood out at the side of the altar. It says, and he shall pluck away his crop with his feathers. So you pluck off the feathers and the crop. Let's look it up in here, but also I think imagery might help with that. But it says here, crop or craw of a bird. So let's look at here. Bird, craw. Yeah. No, not a crow. All right, crop. There you go. Cool. So that's this part inside of the actual, bird. Okay, it's a little part of the bird right there. And let's actually see what it's used for, right? What do the birds use it for within them? So you can see an example here. And it says a bird's crop is a temporary expandable pouch in the esophagus or the throat that stores food, allowing birds to eat large amounts quickly for later digestion or to carry food back to their young, acting like a birdie doggy bag or a milk production site for some species. So if you've ever seen like a bird feeding its young, you'll see what that looks like. It's a vital part of their digestive system, expanding when full and contracting to send food to the stomach, though some birds like jays, owls, and vultures lack a true crop. So let's look here. Bird feeding young. I'm trying to see if I can find it, because there's some videos that you'll see where, yeah, you have this here, but there's some where the bird will, like, because if it's very young, they're not going to give it the just the raw, the raw food, right? So sometimes you'll see a bird, it'll lift its head up and it'll like sort of like almost like cough up or bring up something out of his mouth and then start to feed it into the mouths of his little young ones. And sheep also, or animals, when it says they chew of the cud, which we'll get to that as well, that's they have a similar mechanism as well. So when it says they chew of the cud, it's not really referring to them just eating grass or being herbivores, but we'll get to that when we see it. So anyway, where we at? Verse 16, and he shall pluck away his crop with his feathers and cast it beside the altar on the east part by the place of the ashes. And he shall cleave it with the wings thereof, but shall not divide it asunder. So what they'll do is they will cut it in half to like cut its midsection open, but they will not split it or separate it in half. Okay, so you just cut it open, but you're not actually going to divide it asunder to where you have two pieces of it completely cut in half. And the priest shall burn it upon the altar, upon the wood that is upon the fire. It is a burnt sacrifice, an offering made by fire of a sweet savor unto the Lord Yahweh. And that brings us to the end of the book of Leviticus, the first chapter. Lord willing, thou is edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Recha Kodash. And until next time, Shalom.